Wanted to sing. Oh, we forgot. Heavenly Father, as we come into this, Lord, we just pray that you will bless us and be with us. We thank you for this gathering. We thank you for these beautiful, wonderful ladies, Lord, and just may this conversation, may this interaction, Lord, just let it be a blessing and you receive the glory. All this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Yep. And
We're live. All right.
Yep, we're on.
So let's get started. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's what is today? The 11th?
Today's the 11th.
You know, I have to put in my plug. I don't care how you vote, you just vote. Virginia, the last day to register is the 13th. So, yeah, turn that off. Make sure you go out and register and make sure that you vote and pray and vote and all that good stuff.
Vote. Yes, please. Vote like your life depends on it.
Isn't that what Michelle said? Right. It feels like it.
And did you all see her video regarding the election and just her take on it and how she was saying, for once, please just put yourself in somebody else's shoes, specifically a Black person, a Black woman.
I didn't see her video. I gotta see it. I heard it was deep though. Yeah, a lot of people did comments.
Made me shed a tear or two. So,
plug. I don't care how you vote, just vote. Give me 1 second. So today is going to be a great conversation. What else has been going on? We're going to talk about mental health. As you guys know, wasn't something a mental health day?
Yeah, yesterday. It was World Mental Health Day.
Okay. And then there's a week, right?
There is.
I think from the 13th to the 18th or 24th.
Okay. And so for the week, it's all about kindness. At least that's what I saw when I looked on the website, that they were really stressing to be kind. I guess that's the theme for the Mental Health Awareness Week, is to be kind with coronavirus, with everything that's going on, just to really practice kindness to others, kindness to yourself. I thought that was very good. And I posted in the Queen's Guide in the group page, but and it also had some helpful, reminders or tips or whatever you want to call it, in there. So I posted that in there too. Just, I think with everything going on, I just read that they found another brother hung from a tree and they labeled it a suicide. Like, I can't even imagine what my grandparents went through. I could tell you, just we're probably getting only a small part of the terror that they face daily, but honey, it's stressful. It's upsetting. It's an anger that you can't even release. There's no justice. There's nothing. So you just have to. It's a lot. I can't even explain it. It's. There's no outlet. You just have to stomach it, and so it's. Man, look.
It's a lot, and it's causing everyday people to have mental health issues.
Yep.
So mental health has skyrocketed since the pandemic started, since the protests, just the combination of worldwide issues that are going on right now. It definitely, so I've gotten phone calls from people who've never experienced anything around mental health challenges or any type of illness, and they're feeling the effects. The lockdown, a lot of this it's boomed dramatically. So you don't have to just have hereditary background or you have a history or anything like that. The everyday person is being challenged right now. So it just made me think what you're saying, like stomaching it, and that's the worst thing you can do is stomach it for mental health, because you're only going to go further down. But anyway, that just kind of reminded me of our topic today.
It all really does, but that was sad. I will say this for everybody, for every Black person, and I don't, no matter, especially if it really don't even matter. Go out in groups, please. that was the first thought when I saw that, they caught him alone. Back in the day when the posses, when the KKK was so very much empowered, they were catching people by themselves. Please be safe. Please go out in groups. You know, get maced. Like, just do what you have to do to protect yourself. Um, Unfortunately, there's some very evil people out here who feel empowered, and the justice system kind of confirms that by how things roll. So just do what you can to protect yourself. Please be mindful, be aware when you go out. It's not just, there's just so much. It's just so much. Um, that's my take on all of that.
Before we get into like all of the the deep stuff, can I just give a shout out to everybody who's watching right now?
Yes, good morning,
good
y'all.
morning, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.
Who's on the line?
We have two awesome guests today. This podcast episode is going to be amazing. We have a lot of great perspectives. And this is an interesting topic, especially for us, the Queen's Guide. Some of us have been through our own traumas. So this is a learning experience for all of us, or we know someone who's going through something. So you definitely want to tune in. Like I said, thank you for everybody who jumped immediately onto the live. We appreciate y'all, but this is going to be awesome.
Yes, it is. So let's kick it off.
All right. So hello, Melanie Queens. Thank you for tuning in to the Queen's Guide. We value your presence and welcome you to the set of the table.
You already know we don't own any rights to the music used during the podcast. We're not therapists. We're not your mama. We're not doctors or anything like that. We're just Black women who want to love on our own and spread positivity, especially today in this day and age.
So let's get it started. We kind of touched on it a little bit in the beginning, just because some things that I see in the, I brought up some things that I saw on the news, which just made my heart sink. And it all kind of goes back to the mental health and checking your state and everything. Like, how are you doing? How's everybody doing? Everybody's dealing with so much, on so many different levels. It's just, everything can seem so overwhelming. It is indeed a lot. So let's jump into the conversation. I think,
and let's do a mental health check-in. If you're
that's
watching,
a great idea.
Put in your comments how you're feeling today. Are you okay? Do you need some prayer? You need us to pull up, fight somebody, like whatever it is, put it in the comments. We want to know. We want to make sure that y'all are good. How is everybody doing today, mental health wise?
I have my days. But should we
introduce them? I don't.
Yeah. I mean, look. I know. Girl, I'm less than Sandy. They're always looking at me. I mean, I'm shorter than them, so I don't know how they need to miss me. Should we introduce them so people know who they are?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Sandy, you go. Lola, you want to introduce your girl?
Hi, I'm Sandy.
Okay.
Qualified mental health professional from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm glad to be here today on the Queen's podcast.
These ladies are awesome.
And I'm Lessa, Coach K.
Hi, I'm Lessa Kidanis. Some people know me as Coach K. I am a professional coach. I've been in the industry 15 years. I specialize in leadership development, professional development, personal. I have a special heart for that life coaching arena, the holistic feel to people. So I then decided to become a mental health advocate after my own experience and also working with clients that have had very traumatic experiences with mental health. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Can I just say, there's Black excellence all over this Zoom call.
Yes.
Know, right? We applaud you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
School us today. Let us know. Like, this is definitely, I don't know a lot about mental health, but I've experienced things. I've experienced things, but on an educated level, I don't know.
So really, we appreciate both of you so very much. So back to the check-in. How everybody doing?
I have my days. you know, you can't say, I can't say I'm perfect. There's, you know, so much going on right now. So what I had to do was write down like the time management. So these are the things that I used to have a problem, you know, trying to do everything all at once. You know, you got, you know, family can be in, you know, in healthcare, work. I just started working actually this week. You know, you try to get prepared for that because you're trying to get your body. So we've been sleeping all day and then waking up. So I had to get that together. Thank God it's only for a couple of hours, because if it was 8 hours, I don't think I would have been ready, to be honest. And I know for some folks will look at it, we're like, well, Mila, you're single, you know, you don't have any kids. Listen, I still have a life. I still have family. You know, I still, you know, there's people that need me, and also, you know, kind of look out for me also, you know, for my life. So single, no kids doesn't matter at all, because these are the things that I don't even say for someone that have children, single parenting. You know, I don't believe in just kind of judging that way. So these are the things that just have to be so careful mentioning to people. So, because that can also put mental on you when someone judges you. Yeah. So, and I stay prayed up. I stay
Amen.
prayed up.
Mhm.
Sandy, how
Absolutely.
you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. My sinus and allergies.
Oh,
Just trying to prioritize things. I'm totally over homeschool, but
Me too. Oh goodness. That's a whole nother topic.
Oh,
it is. So other than that, life is good. Trying to do what I can, because what I try to tell people, we get so caught up in schoolwork. Can our kids do this? Can we do that? That we forget that the mental health portion, the physical health portion, is way more important than the school portion. So that's what I try to focus on: the physical health, the mental health. Then we'll worry about education. So
okay.
just trying to put things in order for, myself and my kids.
Okay.
Mhm.
Absolutely. How are you doing, sweetie? How do you pronounce your name?
I'm
We're
listening.
gonna go with
you can say
Lissette.
Coach K.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Coach
gonna
K?
go with Coach K. I
That's
Hi,
saw it
Coach
on
K.
Okay.
I saw it on the document, and I said, what I won't
and we're
do
gonna
is
go
butcher her name
with
on the
Jacqueline.
line. So we're gonna go with Coach
Yeah.
K.
Yeah, I started doing that with my last name, Pidana, just to make it easier, because going over and over like I'm Lisette, So
It's beautiful.
That is
it
beautiful.
is,
It
it
is
really
beautiful.
is. But work-wise, it's just
It
easier.
is.
I'm doing good. I have my days, and we'll talk about this more. But if you've already had mental health challenges and you're in this environment and you're on a lockdown, it's doubled down for me. It's been difficult, and I didn't know how difficult it was going to be. But it there's so many things you're not doing that you would have normally done that is preventative and maintenance for your mental health, and some of that just dropped really quickly, especially dealing with the kids. So it's been a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. I'm working my way up and out, and just using a lot of good resources and guidance, and of course prayer. So
We're gonna get
yeah,
into that. We're gonna get-
yes, that's a huge
I
part
was
of
gonna
it.
ask
Yep.
you.
Definitely. It is.
I'm all right. It,
Yeah. Come
it's
on.
so my regular job, I work with the government, so I telework quite often. So that hasn't changed much now. Instead of going in once or twice to the office, I don't go in at all, which is fine. Um, there are more people at home, and so that is it's fine. But then I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe because I'm a Scorpio, I don't know, but I'll do like my time, me time, like let me be alone. And so I find I don't get that often. But I actually had to have had a conversation with my daughters, because if I don't get it, I turn into a terror. Like I can't even stop myself. She, okay, it's gonna be
It's
scary up in
real.
here.
It's
It's
real.
real. And so please give me time. Um, the homeschooling or the schooling, we finally got into a rhythm, thank God, because that was a lot. And it was funny because so we have two kids in the school, one in elementary, one in middle school. And so my middle school, my oldest granddaughter, we thought she wouldn't need so much hand holding or anything like that, because she's older. She's my Fortnite, Minecraft, what's the other one? Roblox queen.
Very tech savvy.
Very tech savvy. So I didn't think I had to babysit her. She knows what to do. She knows, very savvy on the computer. It's good. My girl had been, take a class like whenever she wanted to. Like she was living a Viva Loca. And I didn't realize until I checked her attendance, and it was like all these red marks of her absence.
Oh no.
Classes.
Oh no.
And so that was a whole come to Jesus, and just because my first reaction was,
You're getting a beat.
It's gonna go down. But then it was really funny because I had a colleague who, she doesn't have kids, but she's wonderful. And she said, you got to think about it. So when your daughters went to college and, you went to college your freshman year, what was that like? I was like, and she goes, think about it. We're asking she's 11 years old, right? So we're asking an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, to have the mindset of an 18-year-old going off to college with that type of freedom, that type of responsibility that really was dropped on them. They weren't groomed for it. And expect them to do. She goes, that's a lot. Now, when she goes to college, she'll have this experience, so she'll be an old hand. But right now, this is very hard. She's, no one's over her back. She's not in a classroom where the teacher's watching. You're doing your work, or they're doing things, so they're expecting her to be responsible. That's a lot of responsibility for an 11-year-old. Right. So if she's, reading mangas and stuff and decides, I don't feel like it, no one's checking her, So I had to have a come to Jesus talk. That was great, and I appreciate the insight, but I had to have a come to Jesus talk with my granddaughter. Look,
get it together, or you're gonna get a beating.
Yeah, we don't spare the rod here. I'm sorry for y'all who like to talk and put in the corner and stuff. I do all that, but it does come down. Look, hey, I'm from the South. It does. Hey, it could get there. It could get there. But now she's on track, and we happy. She happy.
But can I say this? Because that's pure grandma mode. Because if that were one of us, me and my sisters, and we were missing class, as soon as we would have came back from daycare, school, or whatever, we walked in the door, she would have met us right there.
Like, with the belt.
Right. Like,
you would have popped up behind the door. I don't
Right. Popped up. I'm just playing. She's not. She's not.
We're still on live. We're still on live. I don't know who's listening. That's why I'm like, whoa, I did not sponsor this message. I did not sponsor this message. Yeah, I don't know what I do at home.
But I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We got our rhythm, we got our understanding, and the kids are doing great. That's in spite of her deciding whether or not she wanted to go to class, her grades are excellent. So she did what she had to do, and now we're on one accord. So all is well. For now, it's just other things that kind of scare me, and I really have to really pray and keep a level head. And it's the outside, it's the environmental factors really that kind of scare me, not so much in my home, if that makes sense. So now, how about you?
I'm good. I have my highs and lows. Like, it's an emotional roller coaster, and like you said, it's based off of like personal things that are just happening in our environment. There's so much evil that's showing its face today. Like, there are times where I can't even get on social media, or I'll have to log out because I'll see something and I can't even read the full article. It'll just be the title that'll just send me into a rage. So I'm like, okay, I have to take a breather. Wanting to fight people at work,
She's in customer service.
So, but other than that, it does. We be ready. But other than that, it's just different highs and lows. But, as everyone was saying, staying prayed up, making sure that you have your me time. I love coming home. I know it can be difficult for those that are working from home because there's no separation. Like, for me, there's hardly anybody in the office. It's me and another person. So I can go in and there's still that separation. Like, I go in, I might have a rough day, but I know that I'm able to disconnect and go home and just, be with my family. And then there are other people that are working from home where there's no disconnect. So the experience is different.
Very much so.
Right. So, you know, we getting through it.
Anybody in the audience answer that question?
Not yet.
Brian,
Hi,
please.
Amber.
Hi,
Hi,
Amber.
Diana. There's so many.
Hey, ladies.
Hi, Zizi.
Hey, Z.
Yeah, there's a lot of other people.
I'm gonna start thinking.
Arlen.
Hey, sweetie.
There's a lot of other people. I really don't want to mess up anybody's name, but we see y'all. We see y'all.
Well, please
Thank
answer the
you.
question. We want to know how you guys are doing too. We want to definitely do a check-in and see what's up. Make sure you guys are good. We're all going through. We're all just living the best we can, and there's a lot going on that we deal with day in and day out.
Miss
So.
Diana said, something changes once we become grandparents.
Mm.
There's just something magical about those
Yes.
grandkids. They soften us into warm butter. I agree.
More butter.
Lola sis
I'm
was
butter.
she was not to be played with when we were young. She's a whole different person now.
Different.
Yeah, it's so true.
Isn't it?
My parents are nothing like they were with me.
Oh.
I'm telling you, it's
I'm scared to be like,
crazy.
I'm just looking up. I'm like, who
Yeah.
are you?
I'm telling you, I tell my parents that all the time. Y'all are so phony. But they be like, no, don't give them the cookies. No, it's okay. I'm like, who are y'all? Y'all gotta be playing. When I tell you my dad was militant,
Right.
my mom didn't play that. I mean, I had two tough parents, so this is hilarious when they act all soft and they all gushy over the kids and why you gotta bring them up?
Right. Every time, listen,
no, they're like, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I got beaten for that. Like, it's they're in a different season of life.
They are. She'll go to the store with them, and you know, when we used to go to the store with her, she used to give us the look. You
better not.
And so we used to be like, ooh, okay. With them, they're like, oh, Nana, I want this. I want that. Nana. Or she'll even put it out there, like, if y'all are good, I'll go ahead and get y'all a toy. And we're like, if we were to touch something and them lips shriveled up, it was a whole nother story. But with them, she's always coming home with something. She's always buying something. Or she'll be like, oh, I got to go to the store. I promised Haven or Marley or Nana that I was going to get this. And I'm like,
tell them, Diane, we get
totally
butter. I'm butter now. For butter.
Butter. Ooh, hilarious.
Let's get into the questions. So I guess the first question is a good question, and then we're going to go in. I would like to talk about the real definition. And ladies, both of you will be better able to speak to the actual definition than we can. But just the general question, what does mental health mean to you?
Does anybody just jump in?
Yeah, just jump in.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Normally we be looking at me. She
be looking at me.
Right.
I'm looking right at you.
I thought y'all saving me today. So y'all saving me.
Okay.
And we'll add a little bit of ours.
So what does mental health mean to me? I'll say that this has evolved for me. Before, when I knew nothing, when I first got into just the coaching industry, and people used to call my office asking for more mental health issues and help. I promise you, and I feel bad for now for my ignorance, but I had that attitude like, what do you mean you can't get out the house? What do you mean you can't get up and do things? What do you mean? You need to pull yourself up. You need to get motivated. Okay, I can't do nothing if you're not motivated, because I'm thinking coaching. I'm not thinking about the therapy and counseling that people need for something that is an actual mental issue, an actual illness. I never looked at it like that, never was educated about it. And Mila knows, coming from an African community, we didn't know. We just did not get that kind of, no conversation whatsoever about mental health. But in that involvement and having even experienced it myself, I look at it as the overall well-being, but particularly the health of the brain. Like looking at it as an organ that does need to stay healthy. And that, external, internal things can cause issues where you will have illnesses if you're not taking care of it, if you're not doing preventative work. So I look at it as the well-being, mentally, emotionally, and even how it affects your behavior. So that's how I would, in a nutshell, how I would, what it means to me overall, keeping your brain healthy. And that includes your emotional well-being.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. I know for me, and it's like in the simplest terms, mental health is it's a collective of everything. It's mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's everything, and the state of it all, because one correlates to another. It's all interconnected, very much so. If one isn't right, then the other, everything else is off. And the range of health can be, it's so vast. It could be like, over the top, and that may not be the best thing, where it can be rock bottom. And that, of course, is not the best thing, and everywhere in between. So,
absolutely.
What do you think?
Who's next? Have y'all seen the meme? Talia, have you
right
seen
here.
the meme where they be like, who's next? Who's next? Oh, you're next.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted that. Okay. So I agree. Mental health, it is a collective of so many different things. I think people don't really realize how much, there are certain things that affect your mental health physically. People don't really understand it from a scientific standpoint, or a health standpoint, like a physical health standpoint. You got to take care of yourself all the way around, spiritually, emotionally, physically, all of those things. And it's really important. It is really important. I think a lot of people are self-conscious when it comes to talking about it. They don't want to seem vulnerable. A lot of people assume that because, when they think of mental health or someone who has a mental health issue, they think they're crazy. And there's not, because they're not educated on the topic. So then it causes the individual that is going through something to, oh, I'm not going through anything, I'm fine, when really you are, but you don't want to be labeled as crazy, or you don't want to be judged about what you're going through. So I think it's important that we have a place where we can kind of vent or talk about it or let things out and really understand ourselves, because a lot of us are going through things and we don't even know that, our trauma is affecting certain things in our lives, or how we think, or who we attract, all of those things.
That's another thing. And I'm sure it's one of the questions, we'll talk about it, but there are a lot of people, and I think, Sandy, you said this in our conversation when we talked to you, there are a lot of people who are dealing with some serious mental health issues who don't even know.
Right.
Like they've been in that darkness so long that it's become life.
Right.
They don't even recognize that
what it is.
Yeah, like they're just they just live their lives
in our toxicity, and we don't realize it.
Wow. And I don't even know what to say about that. That's
and some people think it's their personality.
Right. And they blame it on
the way I was raised, and that's how I act. Yeah. Right. And sometimes it's very mild. We'll talk about that, but just the mildness of it can also throw you off, not knowing that, that's not normal. But I want to say something about, I forgot Lola's daughter's name. What's her name again?
Jay.
Jayon.
You can call her Jay.
Jay. Okay. You can call her Jay.
Okay, Jay. Yeah, so Jay, you were talking about judgmental. And people, even after being educated, are still very judgmental. I see it in the workplace a lot, where someone will say, what's wrong with her? Is she off her meds? Yeah. Like they happen to know. They happen to know that person is, maybe is taking meds for bipolar or some other. And I will hear, comments in the office where people will say they know, they understand, but it doesn't stop them from making those kind of very stereotypical, very unnecessary comments that then makes it uncomfortable for anybody else to ever say anything about their own mental health issue. Because they're watching how somebody else is getting treated, and everything gets written off that, it must be her bipolar, or it must be her, her meds are off or whatever. And that kind of treatment makes people hide, unfortunately, whether it's in the workplace or personally, because people do make comments about other people's illness around about mental health. It's just unfortunate, and we have to stop it and really pay attention to what we're saying.
Yeah. They're not sensitive about the topic, and especially in the Black community. I've heard so many Black men who do have some sort of issue going on, and when you bring up therapy or you bring up you know, maybe you may need to look into that. They're like, I'm not going to go sit in front of a white man so he can judge me. And he doesn't understand what I went through and all of those things. And there's such a negative, you know, I don't know, a negative
Yeah.
connotation about therapy.
Stigma.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Well,
stigma
Yeah,
with
that
stigma
therapy.
too.
about therapy,
There's
especially
definitely
in the
stigma.
Black community.
Mhm.
Or my mom had previously said it when we were talking about the topic a couple of days ago. In the Black community, it's like everything that you're going through and your traumas, it's like you're taught to hold it in and just
Yeah.
deal with it. So you
Yeah.
internalize it and you don't even realize how toxic it is and those things that it affects, how you treat your kids. You not being active, you like being alone all the time, or you
Yeah.
know, you going through mood swings and you're not thinking that it's a mental health thing. You're thinking, okay, maybe it's like birth control, or things have been
Yeah.
stressful. But we don't think about that.
Yeah.
We're not taught about mental
Yeah.
health in the Black community.
And it's what Sandra said too, that it's normalized to a certain extent.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you this: when my first episode, a very good mentor of mine had said, I told her I wasn't feeling well. I didn't know what I was feeling. I knew I wasn't feeling good because I'm not feeling well, and I've been feeling like this for months. And she told me to go eat a burger. She said, you know what you need? You know, basically like you need nutrients, like you need like a big, healthy, I was like super skinny at that time. She's like, go eat a healthy burger. Oh my gosh. I just went kind of like this, like, oh, that is not going to solve my, when you're in a black hole, that a burger is not going to do it. And so,
Jesus does everything, but it's like
Yeah.
the first thing they'll say
too.
is you need to pray. And it's like, okay, we do
That
believe
too.
in the
That too.
Almighty,
I'm
but
already
you have to
praying.
take that step. You have
Right.
to take that step.
But I would say this, just people don't know, because even when she was saying that, she meant that from a very good place. She really did. She cares a lot about me. But she meant that, meaning like, you just need to eat. You just, you may not be eating well or something like that. And if I were someone who would have taken it differently, I think that would have just took me to a whole nother place, because I would have got upset that people didn't understand. Like, are you not taking this seriously? Why are you telling me go eat a burger? I would have got offended. But knowing who that person was, I didn't take it that deep. But I laughed and I'm like, oh yeah, this lady don't know what she don't know what I'm going through. So let me go get some real help. Yeah.
Real.
But
Andy,
everybody
mental
is
health.
going through something,
Yeah.
whether they realize it or not, whether they try to downplay it or whether they approach it and acknowledge it. I think sometimes too, a lot of times we don't acknowledge what we're going through mentally because we would have to take action. It requires acknowledgement, acceptance, and action. And sometimes people don't want to act on it. They just want to stay in self-pity. They want people to ask them, okay, what's wrong? Are you okay? But if it requires effort and expectation, they may not want to address it. I've noticed that a lot too, because like she was saying, Black men will be like, well, I'm not going to sit in front of no white man and tell her my business. Well, it's plenty of Black men.
Right.
Yeah, Black counselors. Yep.
Because if you don't heal yourself, then it trickles on into your relationship.
To your children.
Amen.
And then we see a pattern. So at what point are you going to take responsibility and take control and work on yourself?
Right.
Oh, and then a lot of that is pride too, even if it's not about self-pity.
Pride is a dangerous thing.
Pride is big.
I could tell you, especially in Black African community, there's a lot of pride deal. And it's very hard to say, if you accept that you have some kind of mental illness, that means you do have to go do something about it. And that means you might have to get a therapist. You might have to get on medication. Maybe you got to go into you might have to actually check into a hospital, like I had one of my clients do, right? And do a 3-day stay over. So all that sounds scary and it takes your pride away. It's like, well, am I weak? Is there something wrong with me? Or why can't I be strong enough? All these other people don't have it and they're going on with their day. So yeah, there's a whole pride situation, both male and female. And it's not even just men thing; it's females too.
Miss Diana said something really awesome. So she said, mental health to me means mental wellness and mindfulness. We women have been programmed to be all things to everyone except ourselves. Once I stopped feeling guilty for taking care of me first, I found that I was then able to take care of others, but with boundaries. Issues of codependency and other dysfunctions must be addressed before we can become optimally functional and effective human beings.
Mhm.
That was a great
Amen.
That was
answer.
a good
That's
one.
really
That's a
good.
great
Thank you,
answer,
Ms.
honey.
Dukes.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
That's really good.
I don't Gula Mahari. I don't know
Oh,
if I said
yeah.
that right.
Oh, Gualmahari. She's
Oh,
Eritrean.
okay.
Oh,
Girl,
I
Yeah.
I'm
like
so
the way that
sorry.
sounds. Say it
Can you say it
again.
again?
Thank you for joining.
What,
Say
say
She,
her
her
name
name
again?
again.
actually, she's saying like the daughter of Mahari, so we call
Yeah.
her Guala. Yeah,
Like
Guala
Guala.
Mahari.
Gualmahari.
Oh, I love it.
Guala
Yeah.
Mahari.
Yeah.
Okay,
Guadalupe's
Guala
daughter.
Lola.
Stop. All right. So the main thing is from base, we must teach discipline and we must listen for their opinions so they can build self-confidence
Yes.
inside of our baby. But
Happy
girl, we
birthday.
feel you, girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I was going to add into what Sandy and also what Coach K was saying. The part, remember, like especially like the black men, you know, when they said, "Okay, I don't want to speak on or talk about to a white man and tell my business," but you just told a bunch of your friends and other family that some may care, some that just want to be nosy. You just shared all that. So why not go to a professional that could really help you? You know, so just like earlier about the judgmental, that's in our culture, period. Regardless, so that's what we're trying to break that ice.
Right.
And so, as an
It's
example,
in the
like
black culture too, like Black
Yeah,
it
Americans.
is.
it's
Yeah.
black people in
Yeah.
People
general.
of
Like
color.
there's
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
I mean, we see it on
Yeah.
Facebook now. You know, the things that they say, let alone to an adult, but just to a child.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and
It is very much so.
that just makes me so angry. And you think these children, when they get older, they're not going to see this. This is the first thing they look at is the phone. You know, so we just like what what Beyonce was going through with Blue. You know, the names that they were calling her. You know,
About
thank
her
God
hair
that
and all that.
you know, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
was just
that's
That's
a
a
horrible.
whole
that's
different,
a
like with your
self-hate
children.
issue
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
And
that's
when you're
Yeah.
talking about
that's a
children
whole
and mental
another
health,
topic.
and Sandy can probably
So
speak to it. You too, Coach K. That's a whole different.
Yeah.
I believe
And is that a
it's a whole
mental,
different
that's a
ball game.
mental issue there, right? That self-hate and all of that other stuff. And
Your
we
own
don't even
self,
associate that with a mental,
their own
there's something
insecurity.
mentally.
Let me
yeah.
say this, and I don't want to get off topic, but I will say this: there is a lot of insecurity built around when people start degrading other people that actually look like them, which is it's really. So I sometimes, so I try not to get on social media and do the trolling mode and start going off on my
Oh, when
template.
she
But
speaks,
one
she speaks,
time,
honey.
I guess somebody wrote some long
He
thing.
said
and
one time.
Yeah, they okay. It wasn't really one time, but this one time, they were degrading Jay-Z on why is Beyonce with him. Y'all heard this already. I'm sure y'all heard this all over. I have such a pet peeve with this issue. I hate this. I hate these comments. I don't care if so. This attitude that you want to pinpoint and say, oh, because his nose or because of whatever, his big lips, that he's ugly. I don't like people doing that. It just, I don't care if you personally think he's not attractive. When you get on public forums and as a community, you're jumping in and saying all the things that make Black people, all the various
Black
things,
features.
right? Yeah, and all those features come in different shapes. So every time you don't like a shape, or you don't like my nose to be medium, and you don't like it to be, or it was too pointy, or whatever, you're going to degrade because you want to say that's unattractive, and then it's going to the idea that, okay, who's telling you what is attractive? So now you're going to create self-esteem issues, not only for himself, but the girls. I mean, he's an adult, but his daughter, and you're going at things that are Afrocentric, the features of the Afrocentric look. That is really self-hate. And I think actually that causes a lot more mental health issues for people, right? Because you're going to self-esteem. And once you start hitting people's self-esteem, there's hopelessness. I mean, you get those sad feelings. You don't feel worthy. Those are the feelings that cause you to get into a mental illness in the first place. So we have to really be careful. I just felt the need to check it, like just the entire community that was coming at him as a symbol, because it could be somebody else tomorrow that maybe we think is attractive, but they're like, no, well, we don't like these Afrocentric features, so we're just gonna pinpoint that. or we don't like, and even like in our community, Millen, the
Yes.
big eyes, big forehead, and it's like the Habesha men get all kinds of, oh my God,
Wow.
all kinds of degrading comments toward Habesha men, which I think is not right and shouldn't be done. Hee ha ha, but you got to get serious at some point. You can't continue
Seriously.
to pattern and
The
you're
one-
telling them all these negative things about their look.
The
Go ahead,
one thing
Lola.
I will say, and this is kind of off topic, but now that you brought it up, it is a pet peeve of mine. I feel very strongly about it. And Black women especially face this a lot. And unfortunately, a lot from our Black men, some, you know, some Black men. You know, that self-hate to me, honestly, I think it is a mental issue. I think that something in you is broken. I know, you know, from our ancestors and stuff, I know even Africans, you know, Africans and African American, like all of that, there's something off. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something off. You know, that self-hate is so strong, and it's very it's so sad.
It's deeply embedded
And
in
it's
our
deep.
history
And
and in our
it's
We
not
do
getting
community.
any
more
better.
damage to ourselves than anybody. You
Than
don't
anybody
see
else.
any other race
Doing that.
this. This
You
is
don't?
my pet
Yeah.
peeve.
Yeah,
No, you don't
you
see
don't see
Asian
them.
men downing Asian women. If they want to go
No.
with a white woman or a Black woman, okay, it is what it is. But they don't
It
beat
is. Yeah.
down their own to justify their decision. You don't
They
see
don't.
white people doing it. You
Yep.
don't see
Yep.
Latinos doing it. They just do.
They just
But
do.
Black, I don't understand. I don't, and it irks me to my soul. I wish nobody else.
To me, it's a learned
ahead,
behavior.
Sandy.
It's a learned behavior, something that was trickled down from slavery, just like Blacks and Christianity. You know, we don't think for ourselves. We just listen and believe everything that we're told. We don't read and comprehend for ourselves. So even in slavery, when we were used against one another, when we were taught to fight against one another as a form of survival, some people have kept that image. They have kept their tradition, and they continue to use it to this day.
And in the African part of it, and I really want people to just think about it on all spectrums here, the colonial period. And when you think about it, because, okay, yeah, I wasn't here and I wasn't a slave, but when you think about parts of Africa where colonization was the norm, and even in where we're from, in Eritrea, it was segregated. Eritreans had to go by the back door in their own country. You had to walk on it, just like South Africa. In the same way, when the Italians came to Eritrea, their type of colonization had segregation, and so there is this some kind of reverence toward white America and the white beauty and Western ways and Western world, and there is that is psychologically embedded across people of color. I think it's really broad. It goes even past just African Americans. It's all people of color in general have this challenge. And I'll say this, even like for work when I travel, you see some of the Africans who use the cream
to lighten their skin.
Yeah, and they have so much. They have a variety of products.
And like Western Africa, and you have some of the Caribbean. You see it, and you see that the discoloration between their actual skin and then their face. And I'm like, what? Why are we doing that to ourselves? What is this about? And that still goes back to the standard that you're using as to what is beautiful, what is worthy, what is valuable. And we don't put our own standard of beauty and standard of worthiness out there for our own selves. And that's totally what I appreciate what Sandra said, because you have to find your own sense. And that's why I think across people of color, we have to stop degrading each other. No matter what aspect of Black you are, there's so much diversity in being Black.
I know.
Then why should there be any kind of one way? There shouldn't be any one standard.
Truth be told, they
want to be
us. The other way around. They love everything about us. They hate what they envy.
It's true. Yeah.
They hate what they envy. We're going out getting bigger butts and just weird stuff we don't even have to. We're born with it. You know, my lips.
You know, that anger,
go nowhere.
I said something about that.
Okay, but they hate what they envy, so they twisted, and unfortunately it's passed down through the generations, but they twisted the mindset and just broken to the point of just beyond brokenness. They broke our ancestors, some of them, Right.
Abby said divide and conquer.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the continent of Africa all across, regardless. Yeah.
And
regardless.
she said our men have bought into the lighter, the better.
The lighter, the better. Yeah.
Or white is better. And she could be a
Right.
two, like my
pretty
Talia
features.
said.
Mhm.
One of her co-workers, a black man, and this is totally off topic. We're gonna go back to it, but now you got to start it. Talia said one of her co-workers, a black man, said he would take a 2 white woman over a 7 black woman, just because. And so you'll take a mudblood over a queen because I said it, because you feel like because her whiteness gives her class. Boy, bye.
My thing is, and you
Yeah.
brought up the theme was like kindness. So it takes, like, we have to elevate ourselves mentally, so we're not thinking in such an ignorant way. But I make it a point to show love to Black people that I see, or people of color, especially women of color, because all we have, and I don't know how many times we've said this on this podcast, all we have is each other. Okay. All we have is each other. So spreading love. And I've noticed from my experience, when I do compliment another Black female, there's a pep in her step. She's like, oh, okay. Whereas before she might have been self-conscious, but now it's like, oh, okay, I'm cute. And I love to see that. I love to see that. And let's not be judgmental with one another, because we don't know where we come from. We don't know what we've been through or what traumas that we do have. A lot of people, that I've seen, a lot of women, light skin or dark skin, there's hate on both sides.
Oh yeah.
That they've had to deal with throughout their childhood and throughout their life. So
that's another topic. That's a whole
right,
other
that's
episode.
That's gonna be another show. We're gonna talk about that.
But there's so many
Call me back for
hurting
that
people
show.
out here.
We'll do.
Right. There's so
There's
many
so
hurting
much.
people out
There's
here,
so
and
much
hurt people like to hurt
people.
people.
Yep.
So y'all, just let's spread love and be the light that we're supposed to be.
All right, we just get back on
Right,
topic.
because
So
this
this is for you two especially. So a lot of people think good mental health is happiness, or happiness means you're in good mental health. Is that a true statement? And can you guys speak to the difference? Why do people associate that one and the same? Because I don't think that's necessarily the same, but I don't know. Is good mental health means you're happy, and then you're good and everything's good and all is well? And then if you're bad, if you're anything negative associated with mental health, then that means that, or what people think.
Or is it a healthy balance of all of these different emotions?
Can you both speak to that, to find that better?
To me, it's all about perception. Nothing is ever going to be 100% every day. It's about what you're thankful for, what you can work on, what you have in progress, and how you can gauge that with your reality and your goals towards what you're working on. To me, that's the balance with happiness. To me personally, when I wake up in the morning, I'm here, I'm alive, I can do for myself. That alone makes me happy. I feel like everything else can take care of itself. Everybody doesn't think like me. So the next person's happiness may be waking up to a Range Rover in their yard. I'm not stuck on high-end cars. So to me, it differs from person to person.
Okay, thank you for that.
This was a really good question. I've never gotten this question before, never seen it. Yeah, so it made me really think about it in answering it. But I'm going to say no, not necessarily. I think it's a sticky question in a sense, because it can easily confuse people. So I want to give the example of myself. When the very first time that I had any kind of depression signs, which I had no idea, and this was like a billion years ago, I was talking to my girlfriend. We're having coffee, the spot in Jeddah, that spot, Millen in DC. We were having coffee, having a good old time, sitting on the balcony, the little deck. And I had said to her, I've never been happier in my life. I got my business, I'm doing my thing, I got my condo, everything is just going so great, wonderful. I had no idea what was happening to me physiologically in the brain and what was getting ready to turn for me. And before you know it, not too long after that statement, I still remember that I could not get out of my bed. I could not get out of my bed. There were stresses and circumstances. So, you have like somebody like me, I would say that I am a former like workaholic, high achiever type. And I was going to a level of burnout I probably didn't even understand. I was on high stress, and then I had a lot of life circumstances happening, like relationship, boyfriend, whatever, that stuff happening. So I actually was going like this. But I thought, because so many things were working in my life in terms of my business and all that, I thought I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm holding myself. And I just took a turn. So I believe that the medical component to this has to be taken into consideration when people say, is happiness the same thing as good mental health? Not necessarily. I think you should do a check-in with yourself regardless. Feelings come and go every day. You can feel differently even hour by hour, I feel differently at times, right? So what does that really mean if for a moment in time I so-called feel happy? I could actually still be feeling depressed or having depressing early signs coming on and not realize that physiologically my body, my brain is telling me, hello, we're not well here. I know you think that, but you may be in denial or whatever it is. You need to actually look at the circumstance and look at how you feel inside. And I was not a person that liked to go inwardly about my feelings. I hate exploring feelings, and I can't stand it. And that's why I'm not a therapist. You know, it's just not for me. And so I never liked going inward for myself. And it was something that had to be pulled out of me constantly. I bottled a lot. I constantly bottled and suppressed emotions. And doing that, I had a false sense of happiness. That's what I will call it. I had a false sense of happiness. I thought I was happy, but I was suppressing a lot of issues that if I had gone to therapy way before that, would have come out and probably would have helped me untangle or, you know, peel back the onion along the way. So I wouldn't have been in that situation. But it all kind of built up and boom, it happens like that. So I would be careful not to let people think that if they just have a sense of happiness at times and points in their life, that means that they have good mental health. Not necessarily.
That's a great answer. Great answer. Do you guys have, Amelia, do you have anything to add? Or for them? You guys are awesome ladies.
Seriously. That is the toughest thing. And I'm sorry, I get emotional about that.
Oh, it's okay, Millen. And I just said I can't do emotions. I love you, girl.
Love you too.
I'm like, let me go to the other side of the room now.
I know. Yeah, I know. No one likes to see me like cry, and that's the thing. I tell people, you know,
you seem joyful all the time.
Right,
that's your personality. You have a bubbly personality.
Thank you. And I think that's one thing. One of my girlfriends, when she saw me or heard me, she was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not talking to Neelan. Hold on, what's going on?" Because you know, because I'm so busy trying to make sure everybody else is okay, right? I knew when something was good. Well, of course I did, because I was in my 20s. First breakup, that killed me. That actually almost killed me. And I have to thank my sister Beth.
Yes, Beth. Yes.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you.
I did share this with the girls, with
Sister
Lola
love.
and Jay and Talia, and I shared it with my little sister like 10 years ago. And I know this might be a shock for everybody, but I'm not perfect. You know, thank God for my sister Beth calling my name, because I was like, literally, when I had that breakup with my ex, first boyfriend, first love, everything. This is the man that I wanted to be with. This is the man that I wanted to have kids with. Of course, in our culture, they probably would not understand that, unless because, you know, like, you know what they say, takes for that, right?
Yeah.
So that means, what do you know?
What do you know about
what
love?
do you know about love?
Lauren
You know,
Hill,
you graduated from, you know, from at that time, I was the first one that graduated from high school, but I knew this is the person that I wanted to be with. You know, literally waited for everything. He was way older than me, 10 years, you know, 10 years older than me at that time. And when that breakup happened, which it went, you know, the wrong way, but, you know, had a fidelity, had another child by another woman, which I didn't find out a year later. Okay. So how did I feel? I had no idea. What is a 21-year-old, 22 at that time feels? Nothing. So of course I'm in this dark, but I didn't know I was in a dark place, because we were not taught that.
Yeah.
I'm in a bathroom. I have a bunch of Tylenol pills. All I can do is open that bottle, and literally I wanted to take it all.
I'm sorry, Millen.
And all I remember is hearing my sister say, "Milan," and that was literally no one but God. Number one, he basically sent her to me to call my name out, you know. Um, I think so. The only one that knew about this later when I came back from, that's why I had to leave. I had to leave DC. You know, I was like, I can't do this because everything was all the memory of him and I,
Yeah.
you know, because I did everything with him, everything. So when I left, um, was I perfect? No, not really, but I was all over the place, you know, and I hope every young girl, every 22-year-old listen to this. I kept it in. I didn't share with anyone. Later on, I shared it with one of my friends, and she just couldn't believe it. Again, like you said, I'm not saying, you know, Lola and Jay, you guys always see me so joyful. She just, like, I literally broke down. Even at that time, I was not ready to see anyone. Because again, oh, people gonna call me crazy, you know, but I was in depression. It was definitely anxiety. It was definitely mental. Again, we did not know that. This is what we learn now. When I came back, I shared it with my little sister. And I'm so glad that I didn't go that way because guess what? That would have hurt the whole family, you know. And at that time, if I wasn't here, would they have understood what mental health was? No, they probably would have got it now. You know, they'll understand that while I'm not in this earth. But seriously, that's why, you know, I share these things with the youth. This is why I, you know, I talk about it. We just need to. That's what I mean when the judgment got to stop. Seriously, in our community, it got to stop because you just don't know. And just like, you know, we said earlier, somebody can be smiling at everything. People would have asked questions like, "What the heck happened?" She was always
on your
smiling.
happy friends,
Right?
Because they go through things too, and that false sense of happiness that you mentioned, Coach K, that's so real. Because
Exactly.
I had a best friend who I had no idea that she was going through like a depression and she wanted to take her life. And I had no idea until she came over here and she said literally being here and feeling our energy and she hugged me, but she also hugged my mom, and my mom didn't know what she was going through either, but she was just like speaking life into her, how much she loved her and how great she was and how everything is going to be okay. And she told me, she said, I don't even think you all know. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I love you all so much. Like you saved, your mom saved my life. You all saved my life because I was going to take my life. So just checking on your happy friends because they go through things too. Checking on people.
Yeah.
You never know what people are going through.
Oh,
and one thing I want to say to you, Milan, because you know they say like when you talk about a situation and you don't cry is when you know you're healed.
Yeah.
That situation that happened with that guy,
you haven't healed
every
yet.
time you talk about it, your heart breaks over and over again. So this is why therapy, I mean, talk to your friends and stuff true, but I think, and honey, it's not because I have stuff.
We all do.
Trust and believe that.
You're right.
No, there are things that I have that I can't talk about because it breaks me all over again. So just, you know, even recognize, Sandy had said it, like face it, take accountability, you know, and I'm ad-libbing what you said, Sandy, but basically, you know, oh,
you deserve the healing.
You deserve the healing.
You deserve it.
You know, understand that I haven't healed. I'm still hurting because this happened to me at this period of my life and it's still affecting me now.
Yeah.
And we one of the questions is about therapy and we're going to talk about it, but that's why, especially in our community, because we're told not to.
We have to be strong.
We have to be strong.
Time,
that's one thing.
Black
it's our blessing and our curse. Black women are known for our strength.
Yeah.
Our inner strength is beyond anything else. Any other woman. They do not have the strength, the inner strength of what a Black woman has. It's an innate blessing by God. We are some strong women and we hold up the world, our families, you know, it's just amazing. We are amazing. But also that comes with such a tiredness. Because you know what? I'm not strong all the time.
Who's going to be strong for me?
Right.
Sometimes I don't want to be strong. How about that?
Right.
Yeah.
And I want that strength and that support to be reciprocated.
I'm tired.
Which is why one of the reasons that's one of the reasons why we formed the Queen's Guide, because we felt like women of color didn't have a place where they can be vulnerable, where they can let it out. and that's what we wanted to be. We wanted to be soul food, you know, because we have to be strong and we have to take care of everyone. And like, I believe it was Miss Diana, she said, like, you know, we have to, it's okay to be selfish sometimes, and we need that same support. We deserve healing just like anybody else. We're so focused on trying to heal other people and be that for other people, and we don't even do that for ourselves.
We deserve to be just women, soft and
Yeah.
vulnerable and sensitive, just like feminine, just like everybody else, just like every other woman of every other race who is expected of them.
Oh, hold me, I can't pick up this napkin. Can you
Right.
help me,
Can you
son?
open this jar? Okay. So my dad had to look
Oh boy.
but this is real. So
Now, I like what you said about healing, Lola, about because you caught that. That was amazing how you just caught that with Milan about
Right.
have you actually healed from this? I don't know if that's a question that we really ask ourselves about different challenges, issues we've gone in the past that still hurt us or make us feel some kind of way every time we revisit it. So that healing piece would just means that going to therapy would be enormous for you. It would allow you to go to that next chapter of your life, not carrying this bag with you. This bag, you've probably carried this bag with you since you were 22 years old.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
She every time we talk about it, it
and
is,
she brings
you
him
can
up.
tell that she's still hurt, but
She's hurt.
and we all have those things where we feel
all
like
do.
we can live with, when really that pain and that trauma is still there, and we don't realize, like, in that situation it might affect every relationship that you have after that,
Yeah.
or what you think about a man, or, you know, we all have our different situations. She's been through a lot of childhood trauma, and she doesn't like to talk about it. Her parents told her to not talk about it. So she's just getting to a point where she can talk about it with us. And even then, when we hear these stories, we're like, Mommy, you've carried this for years. You're in your 40s now, and you're still carrying this. Like, you need to see someone. But we think like these are just growing pains, or these are things that we're gonna get over. And there are a lot of people that carry these traumas to the grave.
Yeah.
And they've never healed from it, and they don't even realize so many things. Like, it affects so many
It
things.
affects so many things.
But this is why, and I told you this, Milan, already.
Yeah.
This is why I believe people should be in therapy all the time. Period.
Right.
Like I don't actually think people should just be like, I got an issue today. I just cried about something. I'm gonna go to therapy. No,
Right.
I think I go to therapy all the time.
Yeah. She
Without
does.
a problem, I go to therapy all the time. I go to marriage therapy.
Yeah.
I love therapy.
Yeah.
Mainly because I get lots of different perspectives. Like the questions that I'm asked really make me dig deep. And like one question, like, okay, Milan, I would say, like, what was your part? Maybe I would ask you, like, what was your part in that? Because sometimes the loathing that you might have and the heartbreak is you can only see it from your perspective. You can only see like how you became the victim. But what was your part in that? Especially relationship breakups. You gotta ask yourself that. Number one, almost any situation, you should ask yourself, what was my part in it? What was my part? It could have been I could be complicit, or I saw the signs and I just ignored it. It could be all kinds of things, right? Oh, you know, I was in denial. I refused to believe whatever I saw early on. So
That's a hard mirror. That's a hard mirror to face.
But talking about this, I'm like, I need to see what therapists are in my area, because
I mean, that makes you take so much ownership when you ask yourself, what was my part in anything? I mean, we have like a little parking issue with our neighbors right now. They keep parking in front of our house. And okay, Milan, that's Ada. I don't want to say that on the thing. And it seems like they all do that. So I'm not going to say that. But you know what I'm saying, Lola.
Yeah.
So, but I had to ask myself, what was our part? You know what? We should have said something the very first time. First time. They thought it was okay because we didn't say anything when they periodically started parking in front of our house. And now they're making it a regular thing, and it's irritating us because we take it as, is this privilege at play? Are you trying to disrespect my house? Why aren't you doing it in any other property? So it becomes
what's up?
Yeah, what is going on? I'm telling you, I can see why people go postal, and I can see why people go off about the smallest things, because there's also, my husband asked ourselves, well, what are some baggages we have that's making us this angry about this? Because we can be angry, But if it's not proportionate to the actual issue, there's some
Yeah.
other things we're carrying too. So
Right.
I asked us, like, what was our part in it and what can we do to move forward, right? What can we
Okay.
do now that we know that should have been what we should have did the first time? So we can't put everything on them. They can't put everything on us.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, therapy is everything.
Yeah.
Everybody
Oh,
should go to
I do
therapy at
definitely do
all
talk to a
times.
coach. I definitely do talk to.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And Miss Sandy said this before, when we had our meeting. There are plenty of Black therapists or therapists that are,
Oh yeah.
and that she actually prefers that Black people see Black therapists, and I
I
completely agree.
a
I
hundred
do feel like,
%.
yeah, there are certain situations and certain feelings that someone who doesn't understand that, like, they can't really understand or pinpoint where that trauma is or where that's coming from. Like a Black person, we have unique experiences and unique pain. So definitely seeing a Black therapist or someone of color, and they're out there. They are
And
out there.
especially a Black therapist that has even training around multicultural
Yes.
management. Like, so that's my therapist. She does. And when we talk about that parking,
Yes.
that parking was way about a lot of other things. We started talking about my relationship with Tatas, with white people, just from early on, and how I feel about that, and a lot of things that have happened over time. So I could easily project things onto other people who might do one thing out of bounds and go off about it. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, so having that background, getting somebody that has that background is a great thing. And I will say that it is hard to find a therapist sometimes. Like, there's a lot of options, but it can be hard to find what's right for you.
Yeah.
True.
So just like you go shopping and you got to find, the right outfit, we don't quit after we tried on one dress. We try
Want
on.
to keep on.
If we're about to go somewhere, we really need that dress, we will be there getting 50 different dresses try-ons before. And that's how I challenge people to do that therapy. When you're looking for a therapist, try it like a dress.
Exactly.
That one didn't work. Next.
Keep on next one.
Keep on to the next one until you find the right one.
So is there a specific way you should ask someone about their mental health, or a more effective way?
No, I just think with a generalized question and based on their statement, you can kind of gauge what's going on. Like, you can be like, what's going on with you, or how are you doing, or anything new you want to talk about. And basically from there, they kind of just open up.
Are there no-nos when it comes to talking with someone about that if they are going through something? Or is it depends on the person and the situation?
And I think it's very sensitive. It's sensitive for a lot of people, and people with pride. And if you know the person well, you do have to assess what you think the best approach is. As I wrote in my thing, and I mentioned it, but the approach somebody took with me, great person, actually has a counseling background and knew immediately that I was suffering with depression at that time. I had no idea. He knew I didn't have any idea. And the first thing he said is, "I think you're depressed." And I hung up. I just hung the phone up. And this is a good friend of mine for a million years. And I hung up because that's not what I want to hear. One, I don't understand what you're saying. Two, what do you mean? Like, it just came out of nowhere to me. All I said was, I'm laying on the couch and I just keep watching TV. I don't feel like doing anything, like every day. And he said, "I think you're depressed." And then I just hung the phone up. And then
he didn't want to hear that.
I didn't want to hear that. He called me back. And I said, "Why did you say that?" When he called, I picked up and he said, "Why did you say that?" And he said, "Because I do think you're depressed." And I said, "What is that supposed to mean?" I got real defensive immediately because I didn't want that. I'm like, I'm a professional. I help people in this area and all these other things. How you gonna tell me I'm depressed? Are you serious? That's my husband in the back. Shout out.
Hey, he got his headphones.
He got his headphones on. He can't hear you. Anyway, yeah, it's our little shared office. But yeah, so I do think you should assess it. I generally don't come off the bat telling people that they are depressed. I don't use that method at all because I know it was a bad experience for me. But if I notice somebody does show signs of I can see it. I sense it and can see if somebody is actually, most of the time I can, especially if it's severe. You can even see it in their body language, their face, everything.
Yeah.
I would just ask, yeah, let's say, so how are you doing? And they'll, just like Sandra said, get them to give you conversation and then kind of talk about some signs you're seeing without saying, I see signs of depression, right? You just talk about, like, I noticed your energy is a little low, fatigue. How you been feeling physically? What's been going on with that? How long has that been going on? Just kind of get them talking about it. And then it's an ease on to talk about, you know, maybe you want to see your primary care and talk a little bit about how you've been feeling lately. Because the primary care will notice that and then tell them they got to go to therapy. And that could be the other avenue. Because now they have facts and a person who's really going to tell them from a diagnostic place that they need to go. If I think they can handle it, I eventually do say I do see signs. I had a client who I did tell her that. She came in for something totally different, but I completely saw that she was depressed. And she didn't want to hear it. She said, you need to stick to your job.
Oh.
And she was, she was our friend.
You see my ass?
She was our friend on the other side, Lola. I know that's going to just tick you off, but she was our friend. She was our friend from the other aisle. So she said that. I said, oh, okay. You know, I hope you keep that in mind, what I told you. And she left and she came back for another session. And we did what she asked me to do. And that's the thing, you got to respect where people are. If that's where she want to be with it, she want to be in denial about it.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, because she'll
So you
come
can't
back.
force it. You can't force the conversation.
No, I wouldn't force the
Or press?
conversation. No, and let's say if this was a family member or friend, somebody you're actually going to see more regularly. I wouldn't press the issue. I would probably take a soft approach, but I wouldn't stop monitoring the issue either if I really care about the person. I would still be doing check-ins. I would still, because it's going to go on for a period of time where then it's going to be hard to deny that there's an issue anyway. They're going to get to a place of darkness that it's like, I need help. All right. Yeah. But if no one's monitoring and no one's calling, no one's checking in, that's when it really gets serious, critical. And that's when people are abandoned and cannot get out. They can't get out because they're not getting the help. And they're too far in for them to even know that they even have depression. Or it could be like other types of mental health, like bipolar or schizophrenia or, you know, psychotic things. Those are really hard to know. Sometimes people are in denial of those things. So yeah.
This goes into, it actually goes into our next question.
Can I ask a different version before we go into it?
But do you know what I'm about to ask?
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is good. Our kids today are dealing the same question, but applying it to our kids because they're dealing with so much. Like my 11-year-old Naisha, she holds a lot in. And even when I try to talk with her, it takes a lot to get to understand. And then she breaks down. When I finally get there, my baby breaks down and we have to back up and regroup. So the kids today, I mean, with everything that's happening, with what they're seeing, like we're having to answer a lot of questions that I wasn't ready to approach them with, but they're seeing it daily. And it's making them feel some type of way. So how do you ask that same question? Like, how do you interact with your kids? How do you get them to open up?
But can we also talk about the smaller kids too?
Yes.
Because I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they've been through a lot in such a short period of time. And we talk about what we've been through as a unit, as a family unit. And like my oldest, she'll go through, like, I'm okay, I understand why this happened and what's going on. But then, she's 6 now, but then there was a trigger or something triggered her and she completely broke down. And then I realized, like, wow, she needs therapy. She's going through things that I had no idea about. And we talk about this. So it hit me as a surprise because I don't even think she understands what she's feeling.
Yeah, right. It's a lot. It's a lot for young kids. I know my own kids are feeling it, and they're only 3 and 2 years old. But the fact that they don't see their friends and not at daycare, and the fact that when she's at the playground, we tell her she has to social distance. What? Social distance? She's like, I want to make a new friend. That's my friend. I want to sit next to her. I want to do this. Have the mask and the whole thing. And that took a lot we agreed to do the playground with limited children because of the mental health challenge, because it was going to challenge her. Every child is different. And knowing that that was going to be a breaking point for her, we just decided to compromise on what was going to be safe and play dates with only parents that we feel comfortable with that are going to take all the extra safety precautions. But yes, monitoring young kids right now due to the situation, and it is going to be hard for them to understand. But I do want to go back to the piece about when you're asking about like the intervention aspect of it, about how do you approach that? Yeah, and I was talking more about adults on the first thing about the easiness of it and not imposing so much, because adults don't want to be treated like kids, and that's a very touchy for them. So you have to really be strategic about that. But even with the kids, and then the kids, if you think it's getting to a certain point where you really need to do an intervention, like it depends on like how severe things are, how things are looking. Like we did an intervention with a family member and he was in his 20s, in that when we felt like we had to do an intervention, not just like have a little pep talk, but it was, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk about, because he was much more in denial about a lot of issues that were causing him mental health illness issues, anxieties, particularly panic attacks, all these other things that were making him, just take a turn. So as far as like your 11-year-old, you're doing the right thing with talking to her, just trying to get her to unbottle some of the feelings that she's having. But if at any point you think that she should have professional help, are you putting her, is she in counseling now?
No, she's not.
Okay. So at any point, if you think it's getting to a point she's just not being herself and it's becoming a real issue in the house, I would take her to counseling. You know, the therapists that deal with children, adolescents. So I would do that if I think that this is really going to affect her and she's not just having some kind of like temporary sadness from the challenge, just not being able to understand. And I would talk to her regularly and monitor her behavior, look for signs to see if she is going into a depressed state. Like if she shows a lack of interest of doing things, she doesn't want to do any of her favorite things, activities. If she's showing any of those actual depression signs, I would definitely just go ahead and take her to counseling and not just depend on my own sense of, ability of intervention. But if she's not at that point and you think that this is really early on and it's not depression, and she's just struggling, then yes, then I would approach her in a soft way. But the main thing is constantly allowing her to drop her feelings out daily, regularly talk about it. So I did that with my 3-year-old. Every other day or every day, I would ask her, so how are you feeling today? Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of this pandemic, she was telling me she was sad. Wow. I was concerned because she was having a hard time understanding why. She likes to be social. She wants to be with people. And so it was very hard for her. And we had to remember, mental health does not discriminate on age, color, or anything. You could be 2 years old and still be feeling some kind of way about the changes that are happening around you, and especially if it feels negative. So yeah, we talk about what I did with her is we just talked about her feelings on a regular basis. And I would say, yeah, so what are some things that would really excite you today? Like, what could we do today? And she'll say, I want to paint, or, I want to go on a stroll. She likes to play on a stroller, she's 3, almost 4, but she likes to get in the stroller and pretend like we're racing. So we do that around the neighborhood. So we just do different things and that helped her really adapt to the situation now and try to help her understand the pandemic itself, but that was taking a toll. I hope that answered your question.
That is good. That is
and
really
Mrs. Sandy, so my particular situation, I went through a very abusive relationship for 5 years to the point where it was affecting my kids, but definitely my oldest, because she's seen things that she shouldn't, have seen at all, to the point where she was biting her nails.
To the point they were down to bleeding, and she didn't recognize it.
And I get emotional talking about it.
I know.
She probably has anxiety, a lot of anxiety issues.
Because as a parent, one, I don't want her to hurt. And, I know that we all need therapy, but 2, you want to protect them. And I know in that situation, I didn't do the best.
The good thing is kids are resilient. I know we say that all the time and it's become cliche, but they really are. And we have to know that life is going to help them become stronger through some of the challenges. It's okay.
Yeah, let it out.
But how do I talk to her or make her feel like she can share those emotions, because a part of me thinks that she thinks that I'm gonna be mad because that's her dad. So I know that she loves him still, but it's such a complex situation.
What would you
So
say, Sandy? How would you go about checking?
one of the things I want to ask is, I know when we first started this podcast, you all said that you don't spare the rod. How does that affect her?
I don't know. Like,
You
we
know,
talk about it and it's never like in a bad way, but it's more like trying to be real with her. Like, what do you feel like daddy was being nice?
and
Like, was
let's
he being nice to you? Was he being nice to me? Like, what are some of the things that you didn't like or you remember that you did like? And just trying to be, this is why I do the things that I do. This is why we don't see him anymore. Do you remember this?
and let's clarify. Like we don't spare the rod. At the same time, we don't spank the children. We don't
No,
spank
they rarely get
rarely. They rarely,
spankings.
rarely get to that point. We do exercise
I'm just asking
communication
because,
and all that.
right, and I'm just asking for that because that's one of the things too that could trigger her
Hmm.
True.
based on what you all have been through. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you reach out to her? Do you use art therapy if it's hard for her to express herself? Do you use music therapy? Things like that could work better for her than she just feel like she's been interrogated by her mom. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
That's good.
And they bought, like, because we went through the whole court situation, we currently have a protective order. And in Virginia, there's a group or like a program for domestic violence victims or people that have been through things. So they offered like art therapy because I guess with younger kids, it's harder for them to fully express themselves. So we were going to do that. But before that even happened, Father's Day came around and she kind of had like, it triggered her. She had like a whole meltdown.
Mm. Wow.
And it
And
triggered her too.
yeah,
That's
and
hard.
like Coach K was saying, that's going to be important too, to engage in therapy as soon as possible, because a lot of times kids feel like when their parents split, they feel like it's their fault.
Their fault.
You
Yeah.
know, so she needs reassurance of that it's not her fault. She needs reassurance that you're not mad at her, and she needs reassurance that she can express herself and there's no backlash from it. So I would just keep, loving on her, empowering her, getting her to, y'all could do family therapy, she could do individual therapy, but also just find a platform that she's very comfortable, with expressing herself on.
And I just wanted to, Sandra, you totally answered it, but I just wanted to,
Thank you so much, honey.
I'm wondering about that, about Father's Day, what you said about Father's Day. Those are complex feelings, because is it okay for me to love my father even though my father did not do good things? And that's a big conflict for a young child, and being able to talk through that you can love your father from a distance, that you could still love him, you could still feel the way you do about, because I think that's very hard for children to be able, and even adults, even adults who have strained relationships with their parents. That's really hard to figure out, can I still love my dad, and what does Father's Day mean for me now? That's a very big deal. What do you guys do on Father's Day for her? So I'm curious about that, but yeah, that's really hard.
I think it
Kelly,
was noticeable for her
ask
because
Matt.
Marley had in school, and even though the daycare understood the background, I don't think this one teacher was very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
And so she had her fill out a project, and she's supposed to write all the things she loves about her dad. So all of those conflict, and at first she wasn't doing anything because she didn't, and the teacher kept pressing and kept pressing and kept pressing. So then she started to write, and it was very convoluted, her answers, meaning that she said that
You could tell based off her
her
answers
answers
that there is trauma
there
there.
was
Like,
trauma,
what
and the
is
Oh,
teacher never
wow.
picked up on it through the whole pressing her to complete this project. So it was irritation with the daycare, like, girl, you
Oh
know,
my
really.
gosh.
And then Marley, you know, even when Jay asked her, you know, why,
so the questions, one were like, what's your favorite, what is something like that your dad does that he's good at? And
punching.
punching,
Oh,
kicking,
wow.
things like that, which for me as a teacher, I would have been
Fighting.
like, is he a boxer? Like, what are we talking about here?
Ooh,
She
And
didn't catch
then
that? That's amazing.
Exactly.
sent it home with her.
Wow.
So
Whoa.
then another question was, what was it? Who's your favorite?
Who's your favorite
Who's
parent?
your favorite parent? Which I don't even feel like should be a
That's
question,
not
or it was
appropriate.
something
No.
to that effect. Or no, she put, it was a question that said, I love my dad more than, and she put my mom. So for me, when I saw it, I'm like,
Wow.
Yeah, it triggered her.
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
need to have a conversation because I'm confused. I'm completely confused. I'm angry. Like, I had to put my emotions aside because after my initial, being angry, I'm like, why would you put this? Like, were you didn't, like, I'm confused. I had to really understand, like, she's going through something.
Something.
And then look at it from her perspective, like, there are a whole bunch of her peers that have all of these wonderful things to say about their dad, and they love their dad. Their dad does this and that with them, and she has more traumatic experiences than anything else.
Yeah.
So understanding that, one, there is that complex, just the whole situation is complex because I know she loves her dad, but I also know that she's hurt. He's hurt her, she's seen him hurt me. Like, so there's that. And then it's also like, you know, like you said, is it my fault? Is he the way he is because of me? Does he not love me the way I love him? Like, I don't. I have friends talking about how much they love. He taught her how to ride a bike and all that, and all I have is this. All I have is memories of him hitting my mom, or him hitting my mom to the point where, or pushing her into me, or doing all of these violent things. But I should love my dad, right? Because everyone else loves their dad.
Mhm.
So then, actually talking with her, and really all she did was cry.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just didn't know how to fully approach it. And what I ended up doing was I let the day go by because everyone was emotionally just drained.
Right.
And when it was just me and her, I sat in front of a mirror because I have a huge mirror in the bedroom, and just talking with her like, okay, I need you to understand why I do everything that I do and where I'm coming from as well. Like, I know that I did not do the best when it came to protecting you.
Mm.
And apologizing for that. And also letting her know that everything that happened isn't her fault. But I can tell you, from now until we leave this earth, I would never let anybody hurt you like that again.
Go get your sister a napkin. Go get your sister a napkin. A napkin. I know, you got us all up in here crying.
Mhm.
Okay.
Stop.
And my
Stop.
kids, they are my life. But I
Heavy
went
saying
through a
hey.
lot of, when I was in that relationship,
Thank you, baby.
there was a lot of mental issues there too. Like, I was completely broken. And I think that whole situation was just traumatic for all of us. So I know that we all still have healing to do, but just making sure that I'm doing the right thing with them is important. And because I don't understand from a child standpoint. I never had to go through that as a child.
So what did she say?
She just cried, and I knew that she was getting where I was coming from. And I thought sitting in the front of the mirror was most effective because I wanted her to see my face. I wanted her to look at herself, like, and, also mixing in, like, you know, making sure that she understood that I love her, that no matter what, I was going to protect her. And it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. It's not your fault. And these are normal feelings.
Right.
And I want you to be able to, I want you to feel comfortable enough to say what you're really feeling. I don't want you to say what you think I want to hear. I genuinely want all of us to heal from this. And I'm here for you no matter what. So I think that she got that, but still I don't feel it's not
There's work to
over.
be done.
There
Yeah,
is work to be
yeah.
done.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just knowing where to start as a parent. And he gets out soon. So that's a whole nother situation.
Yeah, definitely gotta see therapy, babe. Definitely,
Mhm.
all of us do. And Jay, I want to add to that. Your daughter's the oldest. I'm the oldest. We all, as the older daughter and sister, she's protecting you,
Right.
and she's protecting her sister. Um,
Protecting the
let
family.
her know. No, seriously, let her know that um, you don't have to protect me. I'm here to protect you.
That's good.
All of us, what y'all going through, we all went through it in our community. Let me tell you, we seen it, we heard it, not just in our family. We seen it even outside. I seen a neighbor kicking his wife, hitting his wife. I was only 6 years old. That
Wow.
affected me.
Wow.
Seen it everywhere. Let me just say that. And what did I do? I protected my sibling. I protected my friends. So when I hear these things, excuse me, I speak on it. Now that part, I still need to see therapy on that part. Let me just be honest. On the relationship part, yes. And I think Leslie caught it one time. We were just talking. She didn't even have to see my face. Something she said, and I just started breaking down. And I told her, man, I'm in tears right now. She said, yeah, you need to go see someone. She didn't even have to see my face, but just from the conversation. So the most important thing, just like, Unless and Sandy said it, we have to listen to what people say. That part of the question that you asked, Lola, how do you know someone? Just listen to them. Just a couple of months ago, and I think I shared it with you, Lola, a friend of mine, he posted something. I knew it wasn't him. That was not my boy. I reached out and I said, are you okay? And he said, Mila, this is what I'm going through. I said, I knew it. And again, I don't have to be an expert, but just from, reading
paying
health,
attention.
depression, paying attention. So you know what? If I saved one life, then I just saved 1 million right there. And I think that's what when we post on our social media, check out on your strong friends. And this is a guy that always smiling, always joking. But just from what he said, I was like, that's not my boy. Let me give him a call. And he shared it with me, and after that, boom, he was back to his regular self. So just let your daughter know that she does not have to protect you. And these are the things that our parents did not know to say these things to us, because we there just to be there, just to make sure. I mean, when I tell you I'm overprotective of my family, like no one can say nothing to my mother. I don't care if they're her cousins. I don't care if they're her friends. One day somebody made a comment, man, I checked them. And seriously, I'm not saying no.
You go hard for yourself.
And again, whew, yeah. So yeah, definitely. But that part again, that's something I know I need to do. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. So, unless it is, I'm sure people. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe she just said this. This is, this is our family. Why is our family secret coming out? It's not a secret, man. We need help.
Yeah,
we really, really do.
And Milan, it was in our old culture. I mean, it's normal.
Big time.
It's very normal. So I'll tell you this: most of the men who migrated here, like let's say we'll use ours from Eritrea. We came here. But a lot of the husbands, that was part of the culture that
Wow.
if your wife is out of order and you need to check her, you need to hit her. That was kind of how that culture that was the culture of the way you deal with your wife if there's a problem, a major problem. I'm not saying every little thing, but if there was something that really ticked you off and you didn't want her to do it again, then just like how some people believe, let's say in spanking or whatever, it was the same idea that if a wife gets out of order, then you got to do what you got to do. And a lot of them had to learn from this society that's not appropriate. And that significantly dropped over the years as they started to assimilate and understand. And also when people realize that the police will be called on you and you will do jail time for doing something like that, where back home, you don't get jail time for that. No, you did the right thing. You checked your wife. That's what it is. So I mean, so there's a cultural aspect there that as a child, we probably would have never understood it might take a while to really understand, like, oh, these husbands are not bad people, but they also don't understand that this is not appropriate and this is not healthy, and forget about mental health when you want to talk about how it's going to affect the psyche of the mothers, and then they have to rear the children. So yeah, so there's a lot, in our community, there's a lot of beautiful culture, beautiful people, a lot of dysfunctional things. Just I know that that's just in general for people of color anyway, but just within the culture, there are things that are taught, like how to even talk to your wife, the way Millen.
Right.
That,
oh my God.
when I got older, I told my dad, like, you can't say that, and he's
I know.
like, but that's how we talk. That's how we talk to our wife.
I had to do the same thing with my dad.
Like, don't talk to her like that. You don't do that.
Yeah,
So,
I had this, and what they don't realize exactly, it affected us. It affected me big time. Relationship. Trusting men. Like right now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have like 5 walls. Seriously. With so many things. So any man that I'm going to meet, it's going to take time, but he got to break that wall. First I got to help myself, and then later on, it's going to take me time, because every relationship that I went through, they didn't hit me, thank God, because let me tell you, that would not happen, because I've seen it. So I already know, like, oh, that's not going to happen here. But again, how about the way they talk to you also? That can be emotional.
Verbal abuse.
So, verbal abuse. So that's the worst. Because these are words you're never going to forget. So Jay, just let her know she does not have to protect mommy. I'm here to protect you. She needs to hear that. I wish I heard that, but again, our parents were not educated on that.
Yeah, that's good.
I think one of my deeper fears is because I feel like if she doesn't fully heal, it's going to, like I said, it affects a bunch of different things subconsciously. I don't even think she's going to realize it. So I definitely don't want her to attract someone in the future who's just like him. That would completely break my heart.
But it's okay to see therapy for both of you. And I've seen that with kids and their parents and their mom.
Yeah, definitely get professional help.
So let's switch gears, because
Thank you.
Like 20 minutes. So another good question was, how do we deal with daily anxiety? What are some tools? Tips would you guys share to help people deal with daily anxiety? And then the second part of that is, how important is me time? Let's talk about that too.
That's good too.
Mrs.
Sandy, go ahead, girl.
I'll be getting the professional answer.
To deal with daily anxiety, for me, I would say, is to ensure enough sleep. I think that's so important, because I'm usually in bed before 10 o'clock.
Really?
That's good.
Sleep?
That's awesome.
How do you do it? Tell us the secret.
I'm right there with you, Sandy.
The twins are in bed no later by 8:30.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, that's good.
Anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30, they need to be in bed. Then I'm right behind them. Anything that I don't get done that day, it can be followed up on the next day. I think lack of sleep causes a lot of things. Concentration, patience, because becoming a mom of twins, I need a lot of patience.
Mm.
I would say having me time, if I get up in the morning, I usually get up probably about 6 o'clock. So sometimes I'll have about an hour or so just for my me time. If that's for coffee, making breakfast or whatever, taking a shower, that's very important. I would also say things that are of least importance can just trickle down and you can take care of those last, because sometimes we can wait to the last minute to do stuff. We pile stuff up on ourselves, and sometimes we create our own anxiety.
Oh.
So for me, I try to prioritize what I need to get done and do it that way. And that helps me.
That's very good.
Yes. Thank you
And
so
I
much
also
for that.
want to say, if you have younger kids,
Mhm.
that nap time is okay as well.
Put them kids to bed. Put them to bed.
So hard.
Night night.
Ooh, I know that is hard.
And my
Right.
kids,
No, it's not.
with
It's not hard.
it's
It's
not.
not hard at all.
Yeah.
And as soon as they really hit that bed, they're tired.
Oh,
Because my
yeah.
They
kids will put
are.
up a fight. I'll be
They
like,
are.
it's time for a nap. And they'll be like, it's not nighttime yet. I'm not sleepy yet. Mommy, the sun's still
Yep.
out.
Mhm.
Mommy, what time is it?
Every
Go to
excuse.
bed. And then as soon as they get comfortable, out like a light.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
What do you say, Coach K?
So I would say, so anxiety, first of all, it's excessive worry, right? So what is it? It's excessive worry, and there's a range. So some people could have anxiety from stress. I mean, like, yeah. So at the lower range, it could be just from stress, and they can just do some daily things, self-care things that can help them. And then you can go all the way to where it's severe, or where they have panic attacks, heart rate issues, and they need to get on medication, or seek professional assistance there. So we got to clarify that, because if I just say, do this, do that, and you got a severe issue with anxiety, then that's not going to solve it, and it's going to look like we're just playing around here telling y'all that. So getting official diagnosis on that, if you think you have a real severe issue with anxiety, that's important. But on a daily basis, so anything that's going to calm you down and break your obsessive thought about whatever it is that you're having anxiety about, I highly recommend. So things that I do, one, I get my big headphones and I like to listen to my favorite albums. I must, like, it has to sound like it's a concert, right? I love going to concerts, and we can't go now. So my hubby got me these big old things, and they're fun and they're great. So I'm listening to Brandy album now. And it's fantastic. It's very therapeutic. So I listen to that all the time to kind of get me to soothe myself. The other big thing, it sounds simple, but it really does help. Taking really deep breaths to calm yourself at the moment that you're feeling that anxiety, that worry that's coming over you for whatever it is. If you think that, if you're having like that, if you're obsessing over that one thing and it continuously worries you, then you probably do have a serious anxiety issue. It's not just like, you're just like stressed or something. So you definitely want to look into that. But I would do a lot of well-being things. And I started doing meditation like 2 years ago, because my husband's very big into it. And he used to always tell me to do it when we're dating. I'm like, yeah, yoga, all that, not me. So I'm not gonna worry about it. Right. But once he continues to try to explain to me how beneficial it is for my mental health. That's when I started saying, oh, okay, this could be useful. So early morning, sit on the balcony and listen to, I started with the guided talks, the ones on YouTube where they guide you through the meditation, they talk to you. Other people can, like he doesn't do any talk. He has the actual just sound that he could meditate. I'm not there yet. So I do where they talk to you through the whole meditation. And I try to choose different ones that I'm in the mood for. Some are on success and some are on procrastination, just different things. So I try to do things like that. I take walks, I run, anything that's going to get my body moving is really helpful in relaxing, hot baths, a lot of things that you enjoy personally that relax you want to use for anxiety.
Wonderful answers.
And comedy too.
Yes. Add
Laugh,
that
laugh,
comedy.
laugh,
Laughter is
Laugh.
medicine,
Yep,
they
laugh,
That's
say.
medicine.
laugh, laugh. Yep, call your girlfriend, laugh. Whoever makes you laugh, call them and say, I need like 10 minutes of good laughter. Tell me something. Talk to me.
Yep.
So what
Yeah.
are some signs that there may be something going on? Some clear-cut signs.
That's good. So big, major signs, having a hard time getting. So if this is from a place of severity, okay. So if you're at a place where you cannot function, you cannot get out of bed, that's a big issue. Or you want to sit on the couch and watch TV, cable all day long, flip channels, and it feels comfortable to you. You don't want to do anything else differently. And you start hating to do things that you used to love to do, activities that you really enjoyed. You start talking about you don't want to do that, or you don't do it anymore. You show lack of interest. That's a huge sign. You start saying negative things. Mentally, you hear negative things, that things about your self-worth, or the way you just the feelings of hopelessness. Not everybody has that. That's why I was saying there's always kind of a measure here. And also there's different types of depressions. So you have to look into that as well. You can have postpartum depression. You can have, when we're heading into winter time now. Lots
Seasonal.
Lots of
getting
people are
scary.
seasonally depressed.
Yeah.
Like,
So here's the crazy part. And I was talking to my therapist about this. So she's like, I'm really, I'm really monitoring you for this season that's coming up, winter time. Long story, but sometimes there's triggers. So if you had something not great happen at a certain season, a period, you possibly will get triggered. Combine that with the fact that it's about to get dark, and you're not gonna have sun. You're not gonna be doing as much of the outdoor activities. So you could have two different types of depression happening for you. And so she was saying like, yeah, I want you to be careful not to get the seasonal affective disorder, because here comes this, and there's just so many things that could cause that for you on top of your actual, depression. So you could have, two different types of depressions going on. And one, especially now we're in the pandemic, a lot of people are going to go through the seasonal depression. It's going to be hard. And you always hear about, people lost people on holidays, and
it's so scary, but it's gonna be worse.
Yes, and because there's so many people that have died from coronavirus, or gotten it, and it's changed people's lives. That could be a milestone or whatever. Those could be the reasons why people are going to get into a season of depression. So you have to kind of watch. Are you in a place? Is this situational? I mean, do you have just a lot of circumstances that are causing you to feel a certain type of way? So you could have situational depression. Some of it could be completely helped just by counseling. Some things you need to have like a low dosage of medication. Some people need high dosage. So there's a lot here. And then we didn't even get into bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and but just to touch on it so people can start looking into that if they're seeing it. We had a family friend of ours where he was starting to hear things. And he was starting to talk. He had lost touch with reality, basically. And it took us a minute to understand what was going on with him. And we really didn't know. We figured it is some kind of mental health issue, but it took a long time to really get him the kind of help, especially because a person in that, so he had schizophrenia, they are in denial, and therefore they don't know they have an issue. And you can't, by law, you can't force them to go anywhere. You can't just check them in if they're over 18. Right. So there's all that challenges there. So between like, what are the signs and what kind of depression do I have? Those are two major things to figure out and that's why I believe you should just go get a diagnosis if you really think you have some kind of mental illness happening, just so you can figure out what kind of mental illness it is. And we haven't even talked about postpartum.
Right.
Postpartum,
that's a whole nother situation.
That's a whole nother,
And
it's
real.
A
lot of people assume, like, especially with seasonal depression, like they'll be like, oh, that's a myth. But I know several people that are like, I always get sad around this time, I had a coworker yesterday tell me like my mom always gets really sad when it gets like fall comes and winter settles in.
Yep,
And I'm like, wow, seasonal depression and
it's
depression
real.
itself is
Yeah,
real. And there are
it
so
is
many
real.
people that suffer from it, but she doesn't think that she has seasonal depression.
Yep. And they have to game plan. Let me tell you, they have to game. So if people have seasonal, if that's like their main type of depression, they have to game plan that, like how they're going to get light
Through the
into the
night or
house.
through
Make
the
sure,
day.
yeah, through the day, make sure that they have good lighting in the house. Make sure they do early morning walks when it still feels pretty light outside and they can kind of feel, they can take trips somewhere else that's a little warmer and get out. I mean, so they have to kind of game plan how they're going to get through the winter, which is very important. What are the fun things they like to do to keep them engaged? So there's that. And then the interesting thing, and this was kind of new for me, was being depressed during pregnancy. So there's postpartum, but then you have depression throughout your pregnancy and maybe like the first month when you have the baby. So you actually have to pay attention to yourself as a mom during your actual pregnancy about depression feelings that might be coming on during that time. So yeah, just a lot. There's a lot of different.
And also
even
parents,
with that, with pregnancy, I feel like because people don't understand it, they'll be like, oh, it's just the hormones. You're pregnant. It
Yeah,
just, and really
yeah,
you're going through so much at one time. And it's like people aren't open to really
yeah.
exploring or hearing about what you're going through because they just chalk it up as you being hormonal because you're pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Right. And there's a difference. Yeah, you could be
Mm.
hormonal, but that doesn't mean that you're depressed. So,
right.
you know, and women can at some point kind of tell that they're not being themselves. That's a huge aspect is I'm hormonal during my pregnancies, but that's very different for me than when I'm actually depressed during my pregnancy. So if you're prone to it, if you've had depression in the past, you have to monitor yourself for situations that would cause you to be triggered into it. Or if you're pregnant, making sure that you're not gonna have postpartum depression. Like, what are some preventative things I can do now, and just be on the watch out. That's what I did with both my pregnancies, is making sure that I wasn't going to fall into that.
And just making sure, like, if you are someone who's around someone who's pregnant, being supported. Because I was depressed during my pregnancy, but I was going through a lot during my pregnancy. And I was crying all the time. And my children's father, he'd just be like, you cry too much. You're a crybaby, or I can't stand when you're pregnant but really I'm depressed. Like I didn't want to be pregnant because of what I was going through. I didn't even want to be on the earth, let alone bring another life onto the earth. But I just was met with so much, I don't know. He just didn't feel like he thought it was me overreacting.
He is crazy
Yeah.
and evil. So, one thing I will say, all the things that you were talking about noticing in adults and people and understanding yourself, even your own triggers and what you're going through. How can you apply that to children? Because
What are some of the
again,
signs?
the kids are going through a lot. How can you make sure that you stay, what do you see in them? What are we looking for the same thing pretty much, that they're not interested in things
And
like
the biting nails,
the biting of the nails, saying,
like I
your
kept
behavioral
telling
health.
people that, like when she first started biting her nails, it was after a situation where she was affected, like physically as well. And so I kept saying, I think that's like a comfort thing. I think like she's biting her nails because she did not do it before.
That is a sign, by the way. It is.
Right.
And
So
she
I
probably
kept
has a lot of
telling
anxiety.
people, right. I kept telling people, I think that's like a coping mechanism or something. And everyone would be like, no, she's a kid. Like she just.
Yeah, no, it is. And as we said earlier, definitely want to get her professional help. That is a sign. That is a sign. Kids that either bite their nails, or even adults too, but also like kids that start cutting right here, or just doing self-harm to yourself any kind of way. I know biting nails doesn't sound, but if you're doing it to where it's bleeding, yes, you're trying to cope with your feelings and some issues, some challenges there. And I wouldn't be surprised if she has a lot of anxiety. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I believe that when you're put in a situation, abusive situations, your anxiety level goes, especially as a child, your anxiety it skyrockets, and you feel unsafe constantly.
I know for me growing up, I was raped and molested for a very long time. So my coping mechanism was sucking my thumb. And I actually sucked my thumb
Marley, when she does that too.
well into adulthood. It was, suck my thumb and rocking, when I'm laying down,
And
rock
wrapping her
myself.
hands in her blankets,
Mhm.
like really tight. She used to do that.
So,
Yeah,
but no, so for
that's good.
children, again, like what
What signs should we be
signs should
looking
we be
for?
looking? Is the same thing apply whether they're not interested in their cartoons or certain things that they like to do, they don't like to do, or um,
Being really
not eating?
emotional?
But then that could be so many different things. Like, what would you guys say?
Because Marley she went through a phase where she was super emotional too. Like there would be little things that would make her like break down.
Or do you see a combination of things? It's usually like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the one thing, but if it's a combination of several things, then most likely she probably is depressed. The same way like you would say an adult. If she loses interest, plus she's doing the biting. What was the other thing you said? The third thing,
Thumb
thumb
sucking.
sucking. Yeah, a lot of coping mechanisms.
Mhm.
But I would talk, I would just talk to see how she's feeling emotionally, seeing her emotional well-being on a regular basis to see if all those things she's doing is because of she needs an outlet and she can't seem to cope with how she's feeling.
Right.
So yeah,
She's definitely happier now, but it's some of those symptoms that are still there. And I'm like, I know she needs therapy,
Not as
but
intense.
yeah, not as intense,
Because when
but
they
it's
first came
still,
home,
yeah,
it was
it
really
was a lot.
bad. So
mm,
now for her at least, she still sucks her thumb, but it's not
She
as,
stopped biting her nails,
yeah, she stopped
good.
biting her
That's
nails.
good. Yeah,
It's
that's
not as
good.
much as she was when she first got here.
but I do know, like my mom said, there's still work to do.
Hmm.
And I don't want to
Yeah.
just leave it alone just because some of the symptoms disappeared and then something happens, or like I said, he gets out soon and she's triggered all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just gonna put it out there. It really is a lifetime thing when you yes, going to therapy helps us get through each piece, but there's a lot there that is going to take a long time. It's going to take time because of the trauma. So, uh, she might still be dealing with some of that as an adult, even just helping herself to manage it. Even if she does therapy now, she still has to learn how to manage her feelings throughout her lifetime. And so getting her in therapy now, so I just don't want you to think about the short term of this as in like trying to solve it now mentality, but more so let me be in here for the long haul. I'm gonna we're gonna go to therapy, we'll do family counseling or we'll do child, just for her
Last
um,
year.
counseling, and then just kind of work with her throughout the years over the time as you continue to see evolvement and change. What would you say, Sandra? That's just my gut feeling.
I agree. I agree because therapy definitely should be put in place, and it can help with the evolution, but also it's going to be a family
Mm-hmm.
approach.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole lifestyle change. And I say that as in things as if, a lot of times in our families, we're yelling and doing things. We just may have to use like our inside voice
Mm-hmm.
because anything probably could set her off. We just don't know. So it's going to be a lifestyle change for the entire family. But
Yeah.
therapy
That's good.
definitely needs to become a part of the regimen and the lifestyle. I agree.
Yeah. And I like what
And
you said earlier, Sandra, about keeping the environment feeling safe. So even though, yeah, and we talked about the spanking thing, this may be the child that is not appropriate for at all. That
right.
for a time being, because that's just too much triggering, and it's also just going to feel like a form of abuse. So I like what you're saying on there, and just the fact that the lifestyle change is going to have to be around creating more safety in the house. So a lot, no toxic dysfunction. That's hard because we all carry something. I know from the way I was raised, there's a lot that
Mhm.
comes.
Right.
I'm still working on it with my own two girls, my 3-year-old and 2-year-old, not to come off too strong, but my parents came off really strong. So it's hard for me to kind of pull myself back and say, hey, lighten up. Yeah, they're only 3 and 2. Relax. But yeah, it is a life. I love how you put that. It's probably going to be a lifestyle change for you all in the way you approach the whole family and the way, yeah,
Right.
the environment that you create for her.
And how do I continue to protect her mental and her emotional because he does get out soon do I still keep it real with her? Like, okay, he's out, or if she does find out he's out,
But the
but she
protective order
can't
is still
see
in
him.
place.
So how do
She's not
I?
gonna see him, right? She's not gonna see
Mm-mm.
him.
No,
Okay. And it's not
but
like she's wanting to see him now, right?
I think she's confused.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I think
Okay.
she loves him and she wants him to be a certain way.
Oh, okay.
Like, she wants him to be the dad she wants him to
Okay, which one
be,
is smaller?
Mhm.
but he's not that.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot of confusing emotions there for her.
And that will be, and I believe in therapy, that's going to be a very important conversation about explaining in her world what that relationship looks like, what that means. Like, for example, I had a client, he was maybe like 19 years old, and he was cutting himself. He was cutting himself. His friends thought that maybe he was suicidal, so they reached out to me. This is a long time ago when I first started, and we had the conversation. A lot of the issues were coming from his father, and his father had all kinds of toxicity that was coming from him. And every time he wanted something, or anytime he expected something, his father would let him down. His father wouldn't show up. Each time he would try. So I just basically said, just to speak in his own world, I said, what if your dad was a crackhead? What expectations would you put on him as he's dealing with that drug problem? What expectations would you put on him? And he flat out told me I probably wouldn't expect a whole lot. Yeah. So when somebody's sick and they got to get their self well, it's going to be, it's difficult to put so much on. If you put so much on them, you're going to be disappointed. It's going to create that type of relationship. So maybe looking at putting more compassion towards your dad, allowing him to get through what he's getting through. And that changed his whole relationship. That changed the whole, I mean, obviously he got help. He went to the hospital. There was all kinds of things that was done for him. But just to help him understand how to see what this relationship actually is without busting his whole world. Now your daughter is so much younger. That's probably going to be a whole different metaphor. But that's the metaphor I use with the 19-year-old. So in counseling, that's kind of the conversation you may end up having too, is just trying to explain what is this relationship in her language. What is this relationship to be, or what does the relationship look like? So that she can process it a little better. She's probably just not processing it very well. But Sandra, were you going to say something about him getting out? Because I'm thinking, like, does that have anything to do with anything? Like, why does she need to even be so involved in that?
Right. Because ideally, I just would like to disappear it from his standpoint, because that whole situation was super toxic, and it's still toxic. Like, I don't feel like it, if anything, it would get worse. So, but with her, do I just carry it like that?
Does she know he's getting out?
No, but
Well, I wouldn't even discuss it.
the type of person that he is, I feel like
He can't have any contact. Him or
no,
his family.
but he doesn't care about protective orders or anything like that. So if there is a case where she does figure out that he's out, how do I talk with her about that?
Well, I would say you would cross that bridge once you get to it. I wouldn't even add unnecessary stress on her at the moment.
Or yourself.
Yeah, or
Or
yourself.
yourself.
I think I'm
You're
stressed,
stressed about it.
period,
Yeah,
about
you
him
are.
coming out.
You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be.
Are you going to therapy too?
She needs
No,
to.
but I definitely need to,
ASAP.
because my mind is all over the place, and I've been watching Forensic Files, so
Oh, that's what I do. I watch all of that. It's
ID is my favorite show.
right,
I
terrible. My
do.
mind is
I watch
going
all of
crazy.
that. Yeah. You might want to get off of that for a little while. Seriously, I know it's obsessive, but yeah, get off of that. But ASAP, Monday, make a phone call, get into therapy, because no, and I'm not saying it to be like that, but what I'm really saying,
You're right though.
what I'm
too.
really saying is you have to start working on yourself to really be of help to your daughter. It's going to be hard to help her when just right now all the anxiety you have about him getting out is causing you so much anxiety. You are getting ready to pass it right to her. If you're so worried, it's now you're about to just increase her anxiety, and then kids can sense their parents' anxiety,
Oh,
especially their
definitely.
mother, and very protective of their mother. So when you're carrying all of that, she's going to feel it, and it's going to just trickle right to her. And I would go to therapy first myself and start just put the work in, like your girl Ayana Van Zandt likes to say.
I love her.
Do the work.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's my favorite line that she does say, do the work. So, we got to do the work on ourselves if we're going to be better for the kids. And that's part of why I like going to therapy, is because I know a lot of baggage came from the way I was raised, and I cannot afford to pass that down to my girls, and they have to deal with all of the stuff that I dealt with. It's just too much. I don't want to do that to them. So for me to be a better parent, I got to be in therapy, really working out my own issues. And even when we talk about disciplining the kids, you got to really check yourself. Go to counseling to see if you're doing it from a good place. Like, your intention could be good, but you could be like having that anger that comes from when you got hit when you were a kid, or when you were disciplined. And I know, like, my dad was very controlling, so I have a tendency to want to control everything. And I realized that, well, that's not good parenting. That trying to control your kids is not good parenting. So I got to work through those issues. That's the first thing. I think a lot of the issues that you're having, you need more support through therapy between you and your daughter. You need that additional support on top of the family support that you already receive.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So.
Well,
we definitely appreciate y'all. This was
great.
awesome.
Do we have any comments?
So we have a few comments. It won't let me go all the way back. Abby, and I had already read yours, but I truly appreciate your feedback. So she said, sometimes sharing your own personal experience helps to diffuse attention. Children breaking down while sharing is not a bad thing. It gives an opportunity to peel back and understand what's going on. They need to know they don't have to bottle things up to show us they're strong.
Hey, yes.
That's good.
I want to add also, I know we talked about, which I'm glad you mentioned, but the mothers, after postpartum having a baby, that was one. Not because when I was doing introduction, we also forget about parents that have children with development, experiences with like autism and things like that.
Yeah.
The judgmental is right there. Like they don't want to bring them to certain places. And some, not just one, there's some that dealing with 2, 3, 4, that's a lot. Other one, family that's going through illness. It can be cancer, it can be Alzheimer's, all these things that can also cause mental health and also depression. So for anyone that's watching, and I'm sure I'm listening, Sandra, you guys said it, go out there and get that help, or just write. For me, I started writing a journal. Like what makes me happy, what makes me sad, what makes me, comfortable, what, the words I can use to people. So that been helping me a lot. And that walking, listening to music. It's okay to say, you know what, I need a break. And especially for the parents, all of you right now that's doing a virtual. I see it with my own sister now. And I'm like, I looked at that, I was like, I know I would not be able to handle that. I mean, I'm like, whoa, it's a lot.
We got no choice, Millen.
Ooh, I give it to you all. Exactly. I give it to you all, I can see my niece sometimes like, oh my God, with the teachers, because I hear what they say. I'm like, wait a minute, did they just talk to her like that? But again, my sister had to explain to me, oh, no, there's ways. She's good.
Yeah.
So,
I wanted to mention, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Before I forgot, Lola, that I don't know if they have it for kids, but I know they have it just in general. The depression diagnosis assessments online, they're free. And I highly recommend that. I took that myself because I didn't believe half the people around me that were telling me. So I'm telling you, I was a hard head. I didn't want to believe nothing. Not Supergirl. Supergirl ain't depressed. Y'all talking crazy. So I sure did take the assessment, and it sure said I was. So the big part thing, and I didn't quite mention this because I just assume people know, but I can't assume that. A lot of people get major depression disorder, but then there's the other one that's a little tricky, which is persistent depressive disorder, which used to be called dysthymia. I'm saying it probably wrong. but basically it's a mild level of depression. It's hard to tell when you're depressed because
Right.
it's very mild and it stays with you for years, at least 2 years minimum. So so there's the major, and then there's the persistent depressive disorder that people could have had it pretty much since their childhood, or it could have developed then, or you just had a trigger in life that brought it out. And that's the one I had, which I still do have, persistent depressive disorder. So that's good to know, because a lot of times that's probably why I was like, no, I'm not, because it started when I couldn't get out of bed. I still was in denial, but even when I got a little bit better, I was like, no, I'm still not. I'm good, because I started getting confused as to what I'm supposed to be looking for and what that's supposed to look like. So those assessments are very good. I don't know if we have any for kids necessarily.
Where did you get it from? Is there anywhere we can find it?
I can text it. What do you want me to send you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, because
And then we share it.
there's a bunch. Yeah, there's a
Send
bunch.
it in the group. Yeah,
Okay.
send it on the email, then we can share it on the.
Okay.
Yeah,
sounds
that's
good.
awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
All right.
this
My God.
has been awesome. We ran
Yes.
over. We apologize.
I know it's football.
All right. We are definitely into football, but thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Sandy and
Thank
Coach
you,
K.
everyone. Sandy, I think
Thank
she
you.
had to go.
Okay.
But we truly appreciate you, honey. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining. Your input was
Thank you.
awesome,
Thank you,
extremely
guys.
valuable.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
appreciate you and for what you're doing, and
Yeah. For the
for what you
knowledge that
shared,
you dropped on
really.
us, because that was amazing.
Much
it
needed.
definitely gave me some things to think about. Both
Right.
of you, Coach K, you've also been just absolutely wonderful. Thank you so very much for what you
Thank you.
shared, your insight, your
Yes.
expertise, your tips and
Mhm.
everything.
We truly
We
appreciate
appreciate you so very much. Thank
Yeah.
you for being a
Thank you.
blessing, both of you.
Mhm.
That's
Thank you.
exactly what you were, not only to us, but anyone and everyone who's tuned in. You two have
Yeah.
definitely been a blessing. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you, guys. This is a great platform, and I appreciate all the I did not know what to expect, but I appreciated all the transparency. We straight went to Oprah and everything.
Honey.
I said, Lord, should I? Hey.
She love her Oprah, honey.
And you know, everybody know Oprah, but anyway, so yeah, so I really appreciate it. This is just really a great outlet. I'm glad that you guys do this. It's amazing, and I'm sure lots of people are getting healed listening to you guys on a regular basis on different issues. So shout out to the Queen's
Thank you.
Podcast. You guys rock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Call
Let's
me
close
back.
it out.
Yeah. So
Call
as
me
you
back
all,
for that Black woman topic.
definitely.
Oh, definitely.
And
Call me
that's gonna
back.
be another huge,
That's
gonna
Woo.
be great. So as you already know, at the end of each podcast, we say our mantra.
I send it to your iMess on the messenger. You seen it? Okay.
She already got it pulled up. You got it pulled up?
No.
Yep.
I'm not. I'm not.
Here go my little one over
I don't
here.
have my cell phone with me. Go ahead.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
It is live.
All right.
See
1,
that?
2, 3. I am loved. I am growing. I am healing. I am empowered. I am at peace. I am confident. I am healthy. I am respected. I choose happiness. I am a queen.
That's a long mantra.
Thank you all for tuning in. We love you all. We hope you all just had a wonderful time and got a bunch of great tips, learned something important. I know I did. Have a blessed Sunday. Be
Have a
safe.
blessed Sunday,
You know, they say
guys.
the second wave of Corona is
Please
here.
be safe.
Yeah.
Make sure you're wearing your mask, you're washing your hands, so on and so forth. Enjoy your family. Enjoy this day. God bless
Yes,
you.
thank
Stay
you.
safe for
Bye,
tuning in.
guys.
Love
Amen.
y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, honey. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.